Hello everybody, this is Mr. Dunaway, ready to go with Chapter 2, Section 2 as we start adding integers. Alright, so again, let's review what you're doing here. You're taking good notes, right? You're writing everything down. If you have not done this, I did not give you a blank, but you can do this. Please write your name and date on these notes so that you have a copy of them and you have them filed correctly in your binder. Also, hit pause through the video as necessary for you. Some of this stuff you might know how to do, and if you know how to do that, you can just watch through it quickly. Just make sure you are able to add integers with the different signs and able to use them on a number line as well as you go through this video. By the time you're done, bring your notes to class and life will be good for everybody. All right, here we go. Let's start talking about the first key concept is adding integers with the same sign. All right, well, this is what you've been doing. This is normally what you do. To add integers with the same, you got to fill in a word there, same sign. You're going to add their absolute values. Now, you might be thinking, well, why are we saying it like that? Well, when we're talking about negative numbers, such as this example right here, if you have -2, imagine you have $2 of debt, or you owe somebody $2, and then you also owe someone else $4. You owe a total of $6. So that's a negative value, okay? Now, they say add the absolute values. What you can think when you do that question, you can think 4 plus 2 is 6. Remember the absolute value, you take the positives. They're just using math words here and trying to get you to understand them. 4 plus 2 is 6. But since they're both negative, I make my answer -6 right there. Now, in 8 plus 1, for example, this is what you always do. The absolute value of 8 is 8. The absolute value of 1 is 1. And 8 plus 1 is 9. And that's one that you should know how to do. Obviously, that's basic math for you at this point. So when we add with the same sign, it's usually pretty easy. People usually do pretty well. Just make sure you know when you add the negative numbers that your final answer is a negative value. Anytime you add negatives together, you end up with negatives. Anytime you add positives, you end up with positives, like right there. Different signs is a little trickier. All right, so you want to spend some time on this when we add integers with different signs. All right, now this sounds much harder than it is. Okay, it says to add integers with different signs, we subtract the absolute values. All right, so what they're trying to tell you here is that when you add with different signs, you're really doing subtraction in your head, and then you take the sign with the larger absolute value, what looks like the bigger number. That's not really always the bigger number. Okay, let's just jump down to this example right here, and we are going to look at these on a number line. If I have 9 plus -4, they're telling you that the answer is 5, but I want you to go down to your number line that I put on your page. We're going to model this example here. 9 plus -4. Let's call this number 1. Would you do that? Call that number 1. We'll call that number 2 here. I've got just one number line on here, but I want you to see what's happening and make sure this makes sense to you. It says, okay, so we'll do this up above the number line. It says 9 plus -4. Let's pretend we don't know that the answer is 5. Okay, let's pretend we're working this out. Well, what I'm going to do on my number line is I'm going to find this spot right here, 9. Well, here's 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is right there, okay? And it says add, it says to add -4. In other words, it's going to decrease. If I add -4, I'm going to move that way on my number line 4 spaces. Okay, so if I'm at -9 and I count 4, I go 1, 2, 3, I end up right here. I went this way 4, so I went -4, went 9 plus -4, and I ended up on the 5 right there. So 9 plus -4 is 5. Okay, so up here, let's go back to the wording. Up here it said when the signs are different. See how the signs are different? +9, -4, different signs. If you think to subtract their absolute values. Remember the previous video, absolute value of 9 is 9, the absolute value of 4 is 4. So what you really can do here is you can think in your head, hey, that's the same thing as 9 minus 4, in this case, which is 5. And since 9, the bigger value, is positive, I keep that sign positive right there. Let's look at what happens on number 2. I'll do this in red. Below, it says -9 plus 4. Okay, so number 2 I'm going to do down here, okay? And you follow that on your notes. It says start at -9, which is right there, and it says -9 plus 4. Okay, so that means start at -9 and go to the right 4. 4 spaces this way because we're going to increase -9, increase 4. So from here I count 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I end up on -5. -9 plus 4 is equal to -5. Think of it like you owe somebody $9, then you pay off 4. You give them 4. You increase at 4. You now have a debt. You now will owe them only $5. What you can think in your head is this. All right. Now if we go back to the words, you can, if you subtract their absolute values, this is how you could do this question in your head. It's different signs, so you notice they're different signs. So you take the first sign, 9 minus 4, that's 5, but you think to yourself, hey, that's a negative. The bigger number is negative. The bigger absolute value really is how you say that. The bigger absolute value is negative, so that's really a negative value, but you do the arithmetic as subtraction in your head. And that's how you can do this quickly in your head, and that's eventually what we want to end up doing, addition and subtraction quickly in your head. That's the hope. All right, well, let's jump on the back page here. Go ahead and turn it over. I've got a couple minutes. I'll do a little bit on the back page, and then we will continue with the second video, and hopefully it won't take too long. What I'd like you to do on this page is to use the number line, just like I do in the notes for today. And if you can do these in your head without the number line, that's really where I want you to be. But for the sake of the number line and the notes, please write down what I write down. Let's start at number 1, and let's show that above the number line, right above it. Number 1, let's copy it down, -5 plus -6. Okay, so we always start again at the first spot, which is -5. Oh, and I did that wrong. Erase that. Sorry. Go back over here to -5, which is here. Hopefully you saw my mistake and didn't do that. -5 plus -6. So I start at -5, and it means add -6, so we're going to go to the left 6 spaces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we end up right there at -11. We went to the left -6. Now let's look at this question. What we're thinking in our head, if we go back to the first page, since those signs are the same, what you think 5 plus 6 is 11, but since they're both negative, we just make it -11, and that's the answer to that. So adding with the same signs is easy. You just add the numbers and then you keep whatever sign it is. But number 2, when those signs are different, these are a little trickier. Let's do that below the line, okay? We're going to start at 14. Let's see if I can get it right the first time right here. 14 is right there at this spot right there. That's a sloppy 14, but I think you know what I mean. And we're going to add -5. So that means I'm going to go to the left 5 spaces. I'm going to go to the left 5. I'm going to count down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to end up right there, and that is +9. -14 plus -5 is +9. So what you think in your head, if you want to do this without the number line, which again, eventually I do want you doing that, you think, hey, the signs are different. So if I subtract those numbers, 14 minus 5, and then just check the bigger number is positive, or the bigger absolute value is positive, that answer is 9. And there, whoops, I wrote it in the wrong one, is 9 right there. All right, let's try number 3 without the number line. If I have -18 plus 11, what I think is, well, those signs are different, so I'm going to go 18, take away 11, which is 7. But then I ask myself, well, which one is bigger? You know, bigger absolute value, the -18 or the 11? Well, the negative 18 is a bigger absolute value. So instead of keeping it positive, we make it 7, a negative 7. How about that? All right, so when the signs are different, you're really subtracting and you take the larger absolute value. Like in number 4, larger number is positive, signs are different. If I take 16 minus 13, which is 3, and then I notice that the 16 is the larger number, it's a positive number, that answer is positive 3. All right, let's stop this video. We'll start another one in just a few minutes and wrap it up. The next one should be nice and short.